All right. Yeah, you want to just pick off a little recap here?
All right. So for the recap of what happened last week, do you want me to go into like numbers or just explain?
Just kind of like a little general. I always like appreciate a little recap of what happened last week.
So last week we talked about what our cryptocurrencies, what's the main purpose of blockchain, and how it is changing the way industries work. That was a little bit of recap that Ian explained last week. And I talked a little about a couple of projects that I was looking for and the way they performed the last couple of months. Today, we want to dive a little bit about how blockchain works, where can we buy crypto, and how do we store some crypto, right? So dive a little bit deeper into that, talk a little about numbers, what happened last week, which was a pretty good week for whoever's holding crypto. And yeah, that sums up what we're going to do today.
Cool. Yeah, sweet. Exactly. I really like your analysis on the cash versus Bitcoin. Like,
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think everybody should pay more attention on allocating some of their capital, some of their investment capital into Bitcoin. I'm not talking about doing little like more altcoins, which are more risky, but Bitcoin itself, right now, if you look at the price charts in the last 10 years, it has significantly outperformed any other asset class. Will it be real estate, precious metals, equities, bonds, you name it. It has outperformed all of them. So it has gained a little bit, like a lot of credibility with the investors versus cash, which is devaluing every year. There's a question, how much Bitcoin or how much crypto does each person need to have on their personal balance sheet? But that goes back to the risk tolerance, right? How much of a risk can a person tolerate? Some people have a higher risk tolerance. They're like, I'll put 50% of my investment into cryptos, which can yield in great returns and also cause a lot of big losses. That goes back to whatever psychology you follow and your tolerance for it. But cash is practically risk-free, so you're not losing anything, but your buying power is decreasing over time. So these are some factors that you guys are looking into when you're holding cash versus Bitcoin.
I mean, and like I think we even spoke on like how a young person has more risk tolerance too.
Absolutely.
Like we are all at such a good advantageous time in our lives to invest more riskier things. Then down the road, when you have a wife and kids and you're paying down a mortgage, like this is when you can't really strip your investments. So it's nice to have that flexibility now already.
And we're still like in early stages of the full adoption of crypto, right? So it's like I compare it to what was happening in the 1990s with the internet, right? If a person was a new investor back in the 90s, for example, on Amazon, you hold it during the whole time, you'd be very happy with it, right? Same goes for the cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, but you gotta look at the good projects. If you invest in many other projects that are out there, which practically are, how can I say? I don't want to call them a scam, but they don't have any good underlying project, right? They might not be a scam, but 90% of the projects are not going to be here in the next 2 years. Right, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of equate that to what you're talking about with Amazon in the 90s and yeah, they first started coming out. Like back then, when the dot-com bubble burst, there was pretty much everyone was just unanimously saying everything online is a scam.
Exactly.
So if the crypto market suddenly feels some sort of popping of a bubble, I still think Bitcoin is worth holding on to for like 20 years. Like Bitcoin will be like the Amazon of the dot-com bubble, where they go down 80% in value, but then because that's one of the real projects that wasn't completely just like FOMO pushing it up to unreal prices, like there is an actual value proposition behind Bitcoin compared to like those other like altcoins that you mentioned that
exactly.
You don't want to call them a scam, but they are.
Exactly what Adam said. Back in the 1990s, like late 1990s, there was a huge bubble in anything that was .com related. Any e-commerce, any anything that had the internet name in it would have just been getting pumped by investors. Everybody was like pouring money into it. And a lot of these companies didn't have any revenue or any underlying business plan or anything. They just had the good marketing skills introduced to the public. People are like having FOMO, fear of missing out. They're like, if I don't put money into this project right now, I'm gonna be better in 10 years. And the people who built those companies knew about the FOMO. So they're like, we can take advantage of this situation and gain some capital. And when the dot-com bubble burst, a lot of these companies didn't exist the next day.
And I feel as though there's a potential for something similar happening in crypto.
Absolutely.
Just like considering how many altcoins there are that all kind of offer the exact same thing, or just like offer the same thing in a different packaging. There's definitely potential for a big market shakedown.
There's 8,000 coins in the market. Out of these 8,000, I believe there should be like 150 to 200 good projects.
Yeah,
And
I think,
7,800 projects are not gonna exist.
which is a scary thing in the grand scheme of things, but then it also just kind of goes back to what we're talking about Amazon, where instead of just investing in crypto, you need to do the research and do your due diligence and make sure that the thing that you're gonna hold on to for 10 years is the Amazon of .com bubble.
Just like what Adam said, because Amazon, even in the 1990s, they had a great business model. They had
If
a
you
great
look at
vision.
their technicals and their value proposition compared to other .com bubbles, you would have been able to see the writing on the walls, but most people just invested in the name instead of the actual fundamentals.
And that, when like a dot-com bubble or like any bubble bursts, it creates a huge opportunity for people to buy the great companies at a discount, right?
Yeah.
Let's say the whole crypto market is valued at $2 trillion right now, right? And let's say we go through a massive downturn, there's a huge bubble burst, and you see some great projects like Ethereum, Cardano, Bitcoin, all these great underlying projects losing their value by 70%, right? That creates an amazing buying opportunity just for the great projects, right? If you, at that time, the bubbles burst, everything is down 80%, you put your money in not so good projects, it's not buying the dip, right? It's actually pouring money down the toilet, that's it.
Buying, falling knife.
Buying and falling, exactly. These are some of the things that, since crypto is highly volatile, you gotta look into these stuff and be really careful.
So, does every crypto have a limited supply similar to that of Ethereum and Bitcoin?
Ethereum doesn't have a limited supply.
So in terms of they keep kind of releasing more and
They
more
can.
shares in a way?
There's an underlying rule on how much they can do each year,
Okay,
but some projects have maximum limit, right? So
is that rule the same amongst all other cryptos?
it varies.
Really? Okay, so Bitcoin may be able to release like 100,000 shares a year, probably more. and
Bitcoin,
then-
yeah, exactly.
And then crypto may only be able to do 50,000 or something. Okay, interesting. So then is that shown on the website or how?
Yeah, the white
How do
paper,
we know how many shares are going to be released that year
in the white paper, you better read the white paper.
in the white paper? And then the white paper is just attached under every.
Gotcha. Every single project that are legit, they have a big white paper explaining what is the purpose, what is the plan. They even include what's the 100-year plan.
Do you think maybe at the end, maybe we could bring up an example? Like
We can do the white paper for Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah.
So Bitcoin has 21 million supplies for tokens, which is the maximum. They can never go above 21 million, right? And not all 21 million is available today. The last ever Bitcoin to be mined will be mined in 2021-40, so 120 years from now.
Oh, wow.
That's the last day any Bitcoin can be mined, right? And when you look at the supply, they say there's 21 million supply. 1 million of them is held by the founder of Bitcoin, which nobody knows who it is. And he hasn't activated his wallet. So 1 million is gone. So we're practically looking at 20 million more, right? And right now we have 17 million in circulation, minus the 1 mil. And 50% of people who actually hold Bitcoin, they have never sold. But that even reduces the supply by a significant amount. So So if you do a simple supply and demand, you just see that the Bitcoin price is just gonna keep following the trend. You know what I mean? As it go more mainstream.
It's just the exact, like, just the amount of Bitcoin in
It's very
circulation is just so minuscule that it's like kind of causing the.
Exactly.
Yeah, that stat of 50% of Bitcoins in circulation are being held, that's really.
That's good.
Yeah,
That,
that's
like, that makes me rethink all the debt, like even the recent debt where we went down like 30% off.
That's exactly the thing, like,
If that's only being turned by a small fraction of all Bitcoin holders, then like, isn't even that.
that's the thing, you know what they do? A lot of institutional money and whales, for example, they create this fear, uncertainty, and doubt for retail and for basically they're shaking the weak hand, right? So let's say there's a retail investor who bought, I don't know, $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. And he's like, this is going to the moon, right? But the bigger investors, the more sophisticated ones, they know how the market works, they can analyze the market, right? They're like, we create some news, right? For people to be scared.
Time to ban crypto.
Exactly, something like that. And the retail guy is like, I put 5,000, I wake up the next morning, I'm down $1,000. He's like, fuck, I'm down $1,000. So I'm gonna sell it. And this will put pressure on the price and it brings it down. And then the big whales start buying up.
Exactly.
This is the process that's been going over the last 10 years.
So like the relationship between fear and honestly all stocks, because it's not just cryptos, but in the
Absolutely.
case of cryptos, fear is a very big driver because of how volatile it is.
But there's one more thing that is different between stocks and crypto. Stocks are highly regulated, so people cannot be involved in the pump and dump schemes.
Yeah.
That can cause you a lot of legal trouble.
Mhm.
But since crypto is not regulated, there's no central authority that can tell you.
Not all you want.
That's why a lot of people are making serious money doing illegal things. with crypto.
So kind of going back to the question I said before, in terms of like how many shares are released each year, does that then kind of insinuate that maybe we should sell closer to the end of the year and then rebuy at the beginning because we know that there's gonna be a dump of shares, reducing the share price?
See, there's when the tax year comes, a lot of people want to realize gains or realize losses, right?
Right.
So there's a pattern of when is the best time to buy during a year, maybe Q1 would be one of the best times.
Right.
Q4 is one of the best times to sell. Usually Q4 has been the strongest one, strongest quarter in every year. Right now, I think we should expect a really good market for the next couple of months to come. And then we're gonna see some slowdown. So if you wanna, buy and sell, you gotta be really careful about the market cycles and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, now that we're coming to the end of the year kind of now, right? Like, we're approaching December. In December, do you think it'd be a kind of a good time to sell and then maybe start looking at repurchasing in January or February? Just because a lot of cryptos are gonna start dumping in more shares to try to have price down.
They can't, I mean, that's not the case in Bitcoin. The Bitcoin has a completely different protocol.
Right.
So it's really, I think shares or tokens are like released on a day-to-day basis, like Bitcoin's mined daily, so it's not like Bitcoin.
It's not like shares that get released at once, you know what I mean?
So it's not, it's not a big drop of like.
It's not a big drop,
No, not like year end, it's just kind of like throughout the day, like every.
Oh, okay.
There's a tax thing, I know, for example, people who hold a significant amount of tokens. When the tax year comes, or the tax year ends, they want to realize either gains or losses, right? So that's one of the times that you might see some slowdown in the price action and a lot of selling pressure. But other than that, Q4 are usually the best times to sell, if you're planning to make another purchase.
So from what I've gathered from a lot of your kind of own, like, I don't know, I guess advice, but also just kind of opinions, it kind of seems like you're more of like a holder in that.
Definitely.
So have you like thought of trying to day trade a certain amount of your credit balance, or do you just think that investing strategy is just too risky?
It's too risky for me, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather buy something that I think is valuable and look at it as like, forget it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I've been like struggling with trying to like quote unquote day trade my small asset count of crypto, and I try to time the swings, but I've had no luck. And I guess hearing someone who's been in the game a lot longer also agree that it's not worth the time, it kind
It's
of,
not worth the time.
yeah.
I think if you guys took the microeconomic course, you know about the something called opportunity cost, right? When you look at the opportunity cost with day trading, it usually 99% of the time, it's not worth it. And there's a stat saying that 90% of day traders, there's only 10%, which is a small amount, that
No, it's
actually
just-
do make money.
It's so damn appealing when you see.
It is,
those
yeah, you see a lot of-
trades.
You see a lot, and there's a lot of marketing around day trading these days, especially from last year. You open up your YouTube, there's this guy, oh, I want to teach you how to make $10,000 a month. I want to teach you how to make $500 a day.
And like certain tells and stuff.
Yeah, like,
What's
all
the
like,
tell? What's the
look
tell?
at my students, like they're making blah, blah, blah. These are all like PR marketing, you know what I mean?
Have you ever used the tell?
I've actually been, day traded a lot last year,
Okay,
but options and equity, so not crypto.
so how did that work for you?
I think I was pretty lucky, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think I have any particular skill set there. I was very lucky. I actually made some money, but I realized that since I'm not really good at it, and I just got lucky, it's best for me to take my money out and put it elsewhere.
So then in terms of day trading options,
Very risky, extremely.
yeah, I can definitely imagine. Did you, like, what source did you get your tells from? And then also, how did you go about it? So did you have one computer waiting for you to get the tell, and then you were just on another monitor?
I have 3 monitors back at home, my
You have 3?
office, yeah, 3. And there's something called Bloomberg Market Concept. I don't know if you guys know about it. There's a
Yeah, familiar.
Bloomberg is a financial software which connects to your platforms and gives you all the economic data, all the recent market news.
Did you
And
pay for that?
yeah,
How much is it?
there was a
Subscription for like,
subscription was $69.99
okay, oh, but for yearly?
for a month.
Oh, damn. Really?
It's
And then so
$250.
what service does that provide? To
Everything.
justify $69.99 a month?
See, the
That's
thing
pretty
is, it's a lot of financial data that you can't get elsewhere, you know what I mean?
But you
There's a
also have to know
lot,
how to analyze it too. I think
You gotta know how to
that's-
analyze
And then how do you implement that as well, right?
so it integrates with your platform, whatever broker that you use. It integrates all the news to you, and it's super fast. It's faster than you get when you get in CNN. You know what I mean? Let's say there's for example, the hack that was on Facebook, right? It's a pretty big news for someone who's day trading, right? So as soon as that news comes out, people start dumping Facebook shares, and that'll cause
That price drop.
that'll cause the price drop. So
Yeah.
if you get that information firsthand and you can act on it and know which options you want to buy, because options are very different. They can be different strikes, different days, different expiries. It's all about the
Does it give you the information, just kind of like an article popping up on like a feed, like an Instagram feed that keeps popping up?
Exactly.
Or does it get, so it does, yeah,
It is
okay,
exactly.
okay.
It's a multifunctional thing.
Right.
It's usually used for fund managers. Get the best, analyze it. It's not raw data, you know what I mean? A lot of times when you get financials are raw. You don't actually get what it means.
Right.
But with Bloomberg is analyze data.
Yeah.
So basically they're in the data business, to be honest. And I definitely don't suggest anyone to get into options trading or any derivatives. Extremely risky, and 95% of the time, in the long run, you're not gonna make money.
Is that why you got out of it?
I got out. So I entered with say like $10,000 in capital, and I left with 14 grand, which is pretty good. I mean, 4,000. But I had a personal realization that I'm not really good at it, and I'm just getting lucky. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, oh, I'm really good, because I wasn't. And I had a buddy of mine who entered the same amount that I did, grew his account to $20,000, and then he lost it all. He came out with zero. Zero.
Did real
Zero.
things, real things.
He lost it all, like his
Far
credit.
after that.
He went to 20,000, and the ego was just too high, you know what I mean? Like, you think you know everything about it. That's what happens in financial markets. As soon as you're on a good, like a couple good streak, you feel like, oh, like I got this, you know? And then the market turns on you and you lose everything.
So which broker did you use then to get these guys and start like lightning fast making these decisions?
Not to cut you off, but we're actually gonna go into that in the next.
Oh,
few
okay,
slides,
perfect.
about where to invest, how to invest, and those kind of things.
But let me just tell you, I have two brokers. I use the one in the States, which is TD Ameritrade. It's commission-free trading.
TDM,
Ameritrade.
sorry.
Ameritrade.
Ameritrade, yeah.
It's one of the biggest brokers in the States. It offers free trading on options and equities.
Is it a website or do you have to talk to anyone?
Those websites, it's possible.
Just platform?
Yeah, you can use it on your phone, iPad, laptop.
This is slightly off topic, but why isn't TD Ameritrade like available?
It doesn't work in Canada.
Like,
You gotta do,
Canadian bank.
that's the thing. That's one of the things that I was wondering back in the day. So TD Ameritrade is this whole independent institution from TD Canada. TD Canada has TD Direct Investing, and if you're a Canadian citizen, you can't actually open a TD Ameritrade.
So how'd you do?
My dad has an American passport.
Oh, nice.
And I actually did it on his behalf, so it was his account that I was doing. But yeah, if you're Canadian, there's no way you can open an account to any US brokers.
Unless we have an American citizenship.
Unless you're an American citizen, or you have like a work visa or like a student visa. With a Canadian passport, no broker, I think you guys know about Robinhood. You guys know about Robinhood?
Robinhood, yeah.
Which is the free trading platform in the States.
Oh, yeah, Robinhood, yeah.
Yeah, so Canadian, under no circumstance can have access to that. Yeah.
Interesting. Kai, you know Tommy's ex-girlfriend? Anna? She's married. Queen. Stocks. Yeah, stocks.
The broker system in Canada is really bad.
Yeah.
It's one of the industries that I feel like there's a massive potential. Like Wealthsimple is right now doing it, but they're still.
But they suck.
They suck, exactly.
They
They
make so
still.
much money off the top, like they skim so.
They charge you 1.5 for foreign exchange fee. And when you buy and when you sell, so it actually ends up being more expensive for you than commission.
They have a very appealing platform for new users, and I think that's their value proposition. They have the best rated app, it's very user friendly.
The great market,
Right.
it's just great market.
And this is a great example for lots of how marketing can integrate into crypto. Make it look appealing and easy to function. We will also get into this in like the future slides. I want to open the floor to people who haven't spoken much. I think that was the folks from last time.
Yeah.
They'll sit up here. Do you guys have any questions or kind of comments that you'd like to share on what's been talked about?
I think for me, like, from experiencing long-term investing versus short-term daily trading, it's kind of like very simply like analogy where you're trying to go to say a football stadium, right? And the goal is to obviously get there, but the thing is you want to get there the quickest, right? So for long-term investing, you're just taking one route, right? But then you're taking that one route, so you just have that one prediction. But for daily investing and all that, you're like thinking so fast, like, okay, I need to go to this way, I need to take 10 more routes this way, shortcut, and you're gambling every single time. That's why it's really, really difficult to be successful at. Like those people that are really successful, it's only a small percentage. Whereas long-term investing, it's more safe in a way. It doesn't hurt your brain as much, personally for me.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
that's what I feel. So if you're able to actually be successful at short-term investing, I think that's great. Like finding your own style is the most important, like what works out for you. That's what I have to say. Yeah. Like I'm a long-term investor because I realized short-term is just so much stress on me that.
For example, I know there's a saying Warren Buffett always says that when they ask him, which is like he's one of the obviously, I think he's the greatest investor of all time. And when they asked him what's the best strategy, it's like just buy S&P for the year ahead. Right?
Yeah.
It's like basically a bet on the US economy. And in the last 7 years, it has gained 10% annual return. And it has outperformed every single day trader that has ever been. So without actually having to worry about it, as I said, the market's gonna do its thing. You're just fighting for it.
Yeah, and then also, so this is kind of popped in my head too, so along the lines of the Warren Buffett thing too. I think with the whole S&P 500 thing, 100% he's into that, and also I think he's very big into compounding your returns.
Absolutely.
And so I think it'd be a very interesting maybe discussion or kind of look into how we can start compounding.
We can definitely, I think we
And
should
then so,
definitely.
because I think also what he does is he takes the returns, whether it's annually, monthly, kind of what have you, and he uses those S&P 500 returns, compounds it, and just keeps doing that. And so, I'm learning about compound interest right now, in one of the courses I'm taking at Langara here. And so I think it'd be very interesting to see how we can implement compounding, because I mean, I don't really
It's
know
a
how to do
magic,
it.
it's a,
Like-
compound interest is a magic.
But it's magic, but also like I get the fundamentals of it and I get what they're trying to do. Like essentially it's just interest and interest. And so if you make, $100 in interest annually, you just reinvest it. Now it's $1,100 instead of just 1,000. And so you just keep doing that yearly. But how do we actually do that? Like how do we actually implement that in real time? And so I think that'd be something that's really cool that we could probably kind of dive into. And
See, that's the
do
thing
that.
about like S&P, when you buy the index, it's not compounded.
Exactly. It's not
People think it's
compounded.
compounded, but it's actually not.
It's not
You
compounded.
you're just using the appreciation. It's not compounded.
Exactly, yeah.
You gotta sell it, and then when you wanna buy it, you buy it at the same, so it doesn't get compounded.
Yeah.
The
So-
compound is in dividend,
Right.
if you reinvest your dividend, that
Right.
could be a way of.
So I'm wondering how how do you implement that, especially on a trading platform? Or what trading platforms can we do compounding, right?
See, the thing is, for example, if you have a large portfolio,
Yeah,
and you go into dividend stocks with dividend, paying, funds. And then there's an option to reinvest the dividends.
Oh,
There's an option.
There is an option to just like,
Absolutely,
How-
even
how-
multiplies it.
really?
Yeah, it also.
So there's like a button that you can hit
You
reinvest.
like
dividends?
reinvest the dividends, so.
Interesting,
Well,
because
there's
I'm using Wealthsimple and I get dividends, I think it's every month or something. And I haven't seen any option to reinvest, but I haven't looked into it, so that's really cool. I actually really like to check that out.
And yeah, so and then you reinvest the dividends, and then it builds up slowly, so it's not something that you can see overnight or over a period of a couple of years. It shows itself after like 15 years.
Yeah.
Which is a very good way of actually building, long-term wealth, which is much more, stable. Because dividend paying companies are usually companies in their latest stage, like Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, which have established business models, and room for growth is just not there anymore. They've reached the maximum size, and they're still making a lot of cash flow. The way they do it, they give out the dividends. So
this is kind of an ambiguous question because it takes a lot of speculation. But do you think there's any risk that a lot of the value companies that are currently like big dividend yielding companies, do you think there's any possibility of those companies becoming a trap one day since a lot of them have already
Absolutely.
reached their peak market cap or market share? Do you think that they could start depreciating their assets, like their stock price? So then it kind of cancel out your dividend.
that's exactly what happened with AT&T.
Right.
So, AT&T is this massive telecom company in the States, which basically has a 40% market share in the whole US telecom market, right? Massive company, has $180 billion in revenue per year. But since it's so big and it has reached its maximum potential, they have done every single merger that they could have, all the accusations, everything, they've done it all. But their share price has been on the decline for the last 10 years. They lost 50% of their market value in the last 10 years, although their business have grown, right? Why is that? It's because the investors are like, okay, why would I buy AT&T? It has reached its maximum. There's nothing else like. So AT&T does dividend, which is 7% per year, which is a crazy amount for a company their size, but they're still losing their actual stock price, which would offset the dividend and even yield you less money.
Because the opportunity.
Because the opportunity, yeah, the
You
opportunity
missed
is
out
too
on so
much.
much time, and yeah,
The guy's like, I can buy, for example, NVIDIA, which is this high-tech company working in semiconductors. Okay, I might not get a 7% dividend, but the price appreciates 25% per year. Why would I put my money in AT&T? That's the problem with these stocks.
With that AT&T example, do you think there's any reason to kind of extrapolate that scenario and maybe assume that some companies that are offering really attractive dividend yields could be almost trying to bait investors, seeing if they think that they're.
That's their way of attracting capital.
Yeah, so I guess, because I've always looked at look towards dividend yield stocks and be like, this is company is 5%, I have no idea what company this is, but maybe I'll just throw in some money just to get the 5% yield. But I'm not gonna be like, maybe it's kind of a last ditch effort to try and get more people to trade.
Yeah, that's very.
See, the thing is, for example, when you want to look at, let's say you're 20 or 21, and you want to look at your risk factors, right? Dividend stocks are usually good for people who are like older than 40. They can't have that much risk in their portfolio, so they go with dividend, which they're like, I'm gonna get my 5% regardless. But when you're younger, you're looking for appreciation. You're not looking for the dividend. You're not looking for the slow growth things. I believe personally that this is not time for me to put my money in S&P. S&P is great, right? But I still have much more confidence in the new technology rather than putting my money in Coca-Cola. That's my personal strategy. Like, I can be wrong about it, but I rather at this age be like, I'm gonna take more risk, and even if none of them work out in 5 years, so be it, right? I can still make money, right? I can still work. I can do a lot of stuff. I don't have anyone depending on me, so I don't have I don't have a wife that I need to worry about, or a kid, or a mortgage, nothing. So I can maximize my risk at this point. That's why I believe crypto is the greatest opportunity for us to make some seed money for whatever one should be planning to. You want to do real estate, you want to do your own small business, you want to, I don't know, marketing agents, whatever you want.
Did you say Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola.
Do you wanna, what do you see in Coca-Cola right now?
No, we still need to.
Oh, okay.
Let's keep going here, because we've been chatting for a little bit now. I love the discussion, so let's kind of continue on. The one person we haven't highlighted is Christina. Did you have any questions or comments so far on kind of how the last recap of last week went?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. We'll continue on then.
And by the way, just want to add one thing about the broker. Wealthsimple last year raised $295 million from Canada's Vision Fund, which is a venture capital fund powered by the government of Canada. So they attracted $295 million in funding, and they put a lot of money on marketing, and they're burning a crazy amount of cash per month. But still, it's not yielding them anything. The opportunity cost is when you calculate the opportunity, but they're losing money. Even Wealthsimple. There's a massive potential for any entrepreneur to enter the broker market in Canada. There's 35 million people living here, 36, something like that. And most of them are educated. And Canada's like a pretty high GDP, so people have money to invest. It's one of the best industries you can be in. And there isn't that many good competitors out there.
That's literally like the light bulb on every entrepreneur investor's head. Where's the market cap?
Yeah, exactly.
Where can you look to find resources to get you there? These kind of conversations in crypto is exactly what we need to be having to know where that could be.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's just Discord. Yeah, let's talk blockchain for a little bit. We touched on it last week, and it is something that is an integral part of crypto as a whole, and kind of a little bit more about it. As you guys can obviously see, Liam isn't here today. This was going to be kind of Liam's portion, as he really knows this realm. So we're going to kind of touch a little bit on it, but the most part will just be kind of living simply explained, or YouTube kind of go through it, and then we're going to try to answer some of these questions and kind of discuss about it. So let's go ahead and do that.
Smart contracts are very popular nowadays. But what are they, and what problems do they solve?
All right, this is more on the side of inside of blockchain. I feel like we talked enough about not the best.
I saw something else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we talked a little bit about blockchain last time, and so I didn't want to just do a repeat of what a blockchain was. What inside of the blockchain we wanted to describe is what smart contracts was. So to give a brief explanation of how blockchains differ, is each of them have different functions within the blockchain. And for example, Ethereum has a smart contract that has certain capabilities that makes it not only reliable, but have certain things that that make it different. So that's kind of a brief explanation of how blockchain and smart contracts are related. And then let's actually learn about what a smart contract is.
It's actually auto execution.
Auto execution.
Yeah, for
Auto execute over 66.
the thing is, like a smart contract, let's say here's a contract between me and Jason, right? You gotta give me $50 in exchange for a product, right? So when we write the smart contract, it's governed by it's governed by not a centralized organization, right? There is no bank, there's no one in the middle, seeing what we're doing, right? It's just between me and you. And as soon as I give you the product, the contract releases my $50.
Like a middleman?
It's a middleman, but it's not centralized. That's
So
the
there's, yeah, so there's no like intermediaries, it's kind of like a broker or professional. It's straight between.
It's built on trust, but the trust is on the contract, so it's in code. Nobody can change it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not something written that I can just erase it.
So if built on trust, is it like a self-regulating deal then, where you do have the contract that makes sure that technically no one's gonna get to that, but couldn't one person still change the contract in a way?
Nobody can change the contract once it's written, right?
Oh,
So if you gotta give me $50 in exchange for a product, you have to give me $50.
Right, okay.
And as soon as I give you the product, you give me the $50. So there's no way of losing that.
Is there any way to, like, kind of,
Like when someone breaches it.
is there any way to like commit fraud and say you didn't get the
Why
product?
don't we learn about it, so we'll just discuss on it.
Yeah,
I
so
feel like
maybe
this is the start of the video.
Yeah.
Could you time it and actually press, play on the screen there, just so I can, or on Zoom?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll go on three.
So wait, sorry, I'm just looking to,
Just play it, so then the actually people on Zoom.
Oh, yeah,
can
for
see
sure.
what we're doing.
okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
The term smart contract was first used by Nick Szabo in 1997, long before Bitcoin was created. He is a computer scientist, law scholar, and cryptographer, so I'll spare him his exact words. But in simple terms, he wanted to use a distributed ledger to store contracts. Now, smart contracts are just like contracts in the real world. The only difference is that they are completely digital. In fact, a smart contract is actually a tiny computer program that is stored inside of a blockchain. Let's take a look at an example to understand how smart contracts work. You probably are familiar with Kickstarter, the large fundraising platform. Product teams can go to Kickstarter, create a project, set a funding goal, and start collecting money from others who believe in the idea. Kickstarter is essentially a third party that sits in between product teams and supporters. This means that both of them need to trust Kickstarter to handle their money correctly. If the project gets successfully funded, the project team expects Kickstarter to give them their money. On the other hand, supporters want their money to go to the project if it is funded, or to get a refund when it has reached its goals. Both the product team and the supporters have to trust Kickstarter. But with smart contracts, we can build a similar system that doesn't require a third party like Kickstarter. So let's create a smart contract. We can program the smart contract so that it holds all the seed funds until a certain goal is reached. The supporters of a project can now transfer their money to the smart contract. If the project gets fully funded, the contract automatically passes the money to the creator of the project. And if the project fails to meet these goals, then the money automatically goes back to the supporters. Pretty awesome, right? And because smart contracts are stored inside a blockchain, everything is completely distributed. With this technique, no one is in control of the money. But wait a minute, why should we trust the smart contract? Well, because smart contracts are stored on a blockchain, they inherit self-interested properties. They are immutable and they are distributed. Being immutable means that once a smart contract is created, it can never be changed again. So no one can go behind your back and tamper with the code of the contract. And being distributed means that the output of the contract is validated by every network. So a single person cannot force the contract to release the funds because other people on the network will spot this event and mark it as valid. Tampering with smart contracts becomes almost impossible. Smart contracts can be applied to many different things, not just on crowdfunding. Banks, for example, could use it to issue loans or to offer automatic payments. Insurance companies could use it to process certain claims, and postal companies could use it for payment on delivery, and so on and so on. So now you might wonder, where and how can I use smart contracts? Well, right now, there are a handful of blockchains who support smart contracts. The biggest one is Ethereum. It was specifically created and designed to support smart contracts. Smart contracts can be programmed in a special programming language called Solidity. This language was specifically created for Ethereum and uses a syntax that resembles JavaScript. It's also worth noting that Bitcoin also has support for smart contracts, although it's a lot more limited compared to Ethereum. So now you know what smart contracts are and what problems they solve. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button and then subscribe. And as always, thank you very much for watching.
Cool. So I gave a pretty simple explanation of smart contracts and did dive in a little bit of the complicated stuff. Like there are definitely some terms there that I didn't understand, which is cool because we get to kind of talk and discuss about it.
Hey there, Mike.
So we kind of learned a little bit about what smart contracts are, and a little bit of what problem they're solving in the case of people who wanted to crowdfund and invest in a stock or invest in a company, how to keep that secure and safe. Yeah, it kind of answers like questions about like what makes blockchains different. I feel like that's a really important thing to know, especially when defining what differences there are in cryptos. It's like what kind of technology are they bringing to the table, or what are they kind of solving in their value proposition? Right? So yeah, do you have anything to add on that here?
No, I think it basically explains the whole concept. It actually, obviously, blockchain is a really big spectrum, so we just tapping on a small percentage of it.
Yeah.
It can be discussed for hours and hours. We just wanted to give an introduction about what it is and how it works.
Yeah.
Do you guys know other, do you guys know other platforms other than crypto that are on the blockchain? Like, is there any other projects that are on the blockchain besides crypto?
Oh yeah, everything can be on blockchain. So crypto is basically the tokens of different projects.
Right.
So it can be, for example, you can have a pharmacy and have your pharmacist information on blockchain. It
Okay.
doesn't really have to be like a crypto project.
So it can be a store of value, but also information. So you can have
Yeah.
company data on blockchain.
That's actually the main purpose behind everything. So right now, governments of multiple countries, like some Middle Asian countries,
Yeah.
are actually implementing the blockchain to their records, right? Their public records. So they're gonna have it on blockchain.
And I guess that's good and bad for them. It's all public, right?
It is no, it's gonna be their own centralized blockchain.
Oh, okay.
So they can only access, so internally they can access it, but me and you, we can't see it.
So then that's interesting, because isn't the whole crux of blockchain that it's public and that it's run by multiple computing powers to solve?
Well, you can make it centralized.
You can make it centralized.
It's a technology, right? You can have your internet internally for your own company, right?
Right. So
And you
think-
can have it publicly.
Right, so you think the government just has enough computers where they can just power their own blockchain, I guess?
Absolutely.
And have it, yeah.
It's a lot of investment in the infrastructure
Right,
and engineers that actually don't have to work with this type of technology, because a lot of software engineers don't actually know how to do this. This is a new field, and there aren't that many talents right now for the demand. The demand is crazy high. I was looking at the job posting for blockchain engineers or like crypto analysts, and there's a massive job opening. For example, States, UK, Canada, Australia, and the applicants, there aren't that as many applicants because there aren't as many people actually doing it. But the demand is absolutely high.
Because we see so many new cryptos get made every
We
single
are
day.
getting many new projects, exchanges, companies, consultants. We need to have actually special type of lawyers for blockchain.
Yeah.
IP, that's a whole new world.
Yeah, for sure. No, but it's cool that you make that correlation between blockchain and the limited, like unlimited possibilities it has. Like, for example, just thinking right now, for like what a blockchain could be, is like we could create a blockchain for this club and new members.
Yeah.
When someone walked in that door, we would all have to validate that, like, say like Jonathan came in that door, like we also all have to validate that, add them to the member list, and that's essentially a blockchain, right? So in the simplest form, it's adding new people, it's adding new statistics to a ledger. And
It
so-
actually, it works in every single industry, and that's the beauty of it. It can work in the government sector, financial sector, nonprofit sector, for example, right? And there's another concept called social token, which I wanted to talk about next week. It's actually a very interesting project that, for example, if you're a celebrity, if you want to be in contact with your fans, you can have a blockchain and distribute social tokens, which would link financial interest to the social community that you're in. And then you have voting power on what happens.
Really?
It's a new project that is coming out.
So there's gonna be celebrity that can create a blockchain with its fans, and then so the social token essentially.
It's the money value that's the
So
big
can
thing.
fans buy a social token, or is that
Yeah.
given by the celebrity?
So the celebrities choose how many social tokens are gonna be there,
Okay,
and that'll drive up the value.
so let's say there's 10.
Let's say you're the wrong.
Let's say you're the celeb, okay, let's say I'm The Rock and I release 10 social tokens.
10 social tokens. So for that 10 social tokens, there's gonna be a crazy amount of interest, right? Because you have what, like 25 million followers?
Right.
And out of that, if you would say there's a conversion rate of 2%, it's gonna be still a massive amount of people that actually are interested in the social token.
Okay.
So that'll drive up the value. That gives you rights within the community to perform different things.
So what kind of rights?
That's the thing.
If I have more social tokens than say Adam
That
does.
goes back to the white paper.
Yeah.
Whatever the celebrity chooses to be.
And the smart contracts,
And the smart
you can create a smart contract that says, if I have more rock tokens than you do, I have more power to, issue more, or sell more, or bring different people in, or like stake my rock points too, like you have more implications the more power you hold.
It's actually experimental, so it hasn't been.
So it's like a celebrity stock.
It's not celebrity, it can be linked to anything.
Right.
Right, it can
But
be linked to this class,
Yeah, right?
it can be linked to this, so we can create a blockchain on the
You
project.
can pump it up, invest.
We can pump it up, exactly, we have like 10 members here, we issue 100 coins, each person gets 10. And every single class that we have, people can vote based on the amount of tokens they have, what do they want to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you have, let's say, after a while, someone has 50 tokens, so he has 50% voting right on what happens. It's just like how it works with the shares in a company.
Yeah.
Let's say I have a 20% stake in a company, which makes me the biggest shareholder, and that gives me more power within the boardroom, right?
But it's not like you get to decide what what concert The Rock is going to go to.
That's actually that was actually one of the concepts for the.
Because I wonder,
Pop
it's like,
stars.
right, it could be like what stadium or what city they're gonna be.
That's exactly the point of it.
Is that like the same as what BitCloud is doing? With like the social tokens? BitCloud,
Yeah,
is that how it works? Like people can like buy tokens on celebrities and then decide how it works? Because I heard there was like some scandal about it.
that should be the main logic behind it. I'm not sure how it actually performs because it hasn't been actually implemented yet. There was this project that I was reading about that basically the purpose behind it was the whole social token thing. Actually, there are multiple companies working on it, but it goes back to a lot of philosophy and logic that they have to implement into the project for it to have the best values, to be what exactly features does it contain. It's not actually working yet, but I believe within the next 6 months, we're gonna see some form of new demos coming out. You have a question?
Yeah, I know in the video I mentioned how Ethereum was, I guess, the founder of smart contracts. So I just have two questions. The first question is that is smart contracts what makes Ethereum such an attractive investment? And number two is that in the long-term wise, do you see smart contracts, like how is smart contracts going to incorporate in our daily life, in a way, like we have real estate contracts in a way, right? We have contracts between lawyers and stuff. Do you see smart contracts slowly going into everyday lifestyle
Absolutely.
use and all that?
Absolutely.
That's not why Ethereum is such a attractive investment.
That's why I think, this is my personal opinion, is that Ethereum is definitely gonna be much more valuable than Bitcoin in the long run, right? Bitcoin is, it's not gonna change any or make Bitcoin any less attractive, right? But Ethereum, because of the, like, it can be compatible to everything, just like you said, real estate, legal, media, sports, anything, right? It can be implemented into our everyday lives. And that makes it a huge project, and that makes the token, which is Ether, much valuable in the future. Because that's gonna be the governance token, so if you have more Ether, you have more authority.
To kind of add on to that too, like, or add, yeah, to add on to your point, like, what kind of smart contracts could, or like, what can you prioritize from a smart contract? For example, what if Ethereum put out a statement saying everyone or every new company in the future that uses a smart contract now has to pay a royalty to me of, you know, an Ethereum or for 5 cents or something. That, like that, you know, trademarking something like that would be so
Yeah, that-
key.
Total available market is huge.
That's why the Ethereum Foundation is actually one of the greatest opportunities that is out there. It's even bigger than, for example, Google, Microsoft, any of these massive companies. Ethereum Foundation actually has more potential because it can be general for every industry.
Worldwide.
Worldwide, there's no border, there's nothing.
Yeah.
And once, just like Kai said, they demand, let's say, want to build a project on top of Ethereum, you got to deposit 10,000 Ether. That's the only way it works, right? So that just creates enormous value.
Bitcoin's like the big bang, right?
Bitcoin is the big, yeah, it's like the
It's
flagship.
what started off, so like
It's what
Bitcoin's
started
kind of like NWA, and then Ethereum's kind of like WeBank.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, someone's gonna break the seal, make proof of concept, right? But once that initial gap is open, now the people who have like the real foundation are gonna come through, and you gotta, you know, spot those out.
So Bitcoin will be like the digital asset, right? It's just like gonna be the gold of the internet. And Ethereum is gonna be the main driver of every single project that is gonna be built on the web.
Could be like the way we build businesses on Shopify now.
Exactly.
Ethereum could be the way that people build.
Future of e-commerce.
Yeah.
Future of e-commerce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had I just wanted to like confirm something, so those smart contracts,
Yeah.
are those what companies are using when they either put their crypto on the, or they use the Ethereum blockchain for their crypto, or for whatever other reason a company uses Ethereum blockchain, is
Yeah.
that just for smart contracts? Like, is that the only, like?
That's one of the features it has. So
So what-
Ethereum
one of-
acts as an infrastructure for all the decentralized applications, right? It's like
Are smart contracts most popular?
most popular smart contracts, DeFi, DApps, which are decentralized applications. So we're gonna have crypto app stores in the future built upon Ethereum, right? There's other projects that are actually rivaling Ethereum, like Solana, Tomo Chain. There are many projects that are out there, but just like let's say there's many companies building smartphones, but there's only Apple, you know what I mean? And there's Samsung. There's gonna be a couple big players and a lot of small players.
Can I make a smart contract myself at a simple level where it's like $50 for a project?
Yeah.
So I can just write one up really quick, send it to you, and then we can do that.
There's
right
gonna
now if
be,
you
there's
want.
gonna be like, preset contracts, right? Just like, let's say if you wanna buy a house, there's preset,
Like templates.
yeah, templates, there's some templates, right? So there's gonna be templates for me and you, if you wanna do a transaction between us, there's gonna be templates that we can use. So if it doesn't need, we don't have to go to a lawyer to do that. If you wanna buy a house, right now, one of the problems in the real estate market is that you gotta go through a lot of people to buy a single house. You can't even buy a house from somebody, like you have to go through the broker, then the agent, then the lawyer, then the mortgage broker, then the bank. So there's a lot of people feeding you, right?
It's expensive too.
And it adds up to your expenses. What for? You know what I mean? If you can do it seamlessly, that it's just between me and the seller, it'll, you know, simplify a lot of transactions.
It cuts out the middleman,
Cuts
just
out
like
the
what
middleman.
a lot of cryptos are solving, decentralizing, breaking down that middleman,
That's
stopping
exactly,
transactions.
that's the whole concept, cut the middleman.
I find it funny how stockbrokers are just gone.
Stockbrokers are gone, that's it. There
There's
used to
like
be a
nothing
massive
different.
industry for
Yeah.
stockbrokers, all the guys in Wall Street crazy, you know, the
I don't think
calling,
it's past
talking,
now, yeah.
and it's gone. Dude, if you look at
It's
the,
trading platforms just taking over.
if you look at the trading floors on NYSE or like TSX or like Chicago, there's no people on the floor exchange anymore.
Yeah,
That's it, they're gone.
computers.
Computers.
Computer engineers.
Algorithms, you know?
Like, are the stockbrokers of the future?
Actually, the financial services companies are actually hiring more computer scientists rather than finance graduates.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're like, these guys can build algos for us, versus the finance guys who know the concepts. And anybody can learn the concepts,
Yeah,
but the algo is what matters to us.
yeah, that's a very important point.
So I have one other thought about smart contracts. So I do see the massive opportunity for cutting out the middleman in a lot of big transactions where they take like a small fee that adds up to a pretty big fee when you count the big transaction. But I kind of wonder if a smart contract has the same legal standing as like a contract that's officiated by a lawyer who's presently there. Does that can?
See,
like,
that's
hold
one
up
of
to
the problems.
law?
That is
I'm
actually
wondering
one
if
of the
like a smart
problems.
contract is enough, because it's probably signed online, I assume.
And like how much power does it hold in this?
Yes, like would you be able to say, oh, I didn't sign that, that was someone who, one of my computers signed it for me, so I don't actually. give this
That's the difficulties around the laws and regulations for crypto, because the platforms and everything is so new. Lawyers don't actually know how to make regulations.
Yeah, kind of like what you were saying before, how there's gonna need to be a crypto lawyer.
There's gonna be a huge amount of need for, lawyers that actually have a computer background, you know what I mean? Usually lawyers, they come from, like political science, economics, these type of backgrounds, which they have a lot of legal expertise, but they don't understand the underlying asset, right? Let's say if you're a lawyer and you're planning to make rules or like regulation for the blockchain or like smart contract, if you don't understand it, what are the chances that you're gonna make anything good come out of it? You know what I mean? So we need a new type of education for engineering these things, regulating it, different type of accountants, everything's gotta change.
Yeah, it would be fucking dope if there's just a website you could go to and just be like, all right, make me a smart contract that'll hold up in court, and that one I can sell my house and not have to pay.
Why would you go for a lawyer? You have to pay a lawyer a couple $1,000s for a
Just
transaction.
for the contract to be written up, and then another like fucking.
And that's actually one of the difficulties of law right now, because with the whole, these new technologies that are coming out, the new legal platforms, the need for a lawyer in small businesses is just decreasing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always gonna be fights, there's always gonna be lawyers, there's always gonna be courts. But the need for it, in terms of the global scale, is actually decreasing. So there's gotta come up a new innovation in the legal.
He's selling cars and phones and stuff, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Use that for like
Everything.
any big asset like that.
Phone plans, people who like, instead of going through a dealership now, you can just have a smart contract that says here, you're applied to this. Yeah, there's a lot.
You're obligated to pay this much,
Yeah,
this, so it explains everything.
sure.
It's actually super cool the way it works.
Yeah, just thinking like kind of off, not off, kind of off, but for things where there's a potential to be scammed, like I'm thinking like high ticket shoe items where there are often fakes out in the market, if you were able to just drop a smart contract really quick. And that would almost, down the road, have the scammer, if they end up selling a fake pair of shoes, you can almost get them hooked legally. If they sign a smart contract saying like, oh, this is real, and I verified that this is real.
So it can be written in the contract, see that if you sell me a fake shoe, I have the legal obligation to come out.
Just so you, yeah.
You know what I mean? In for example, financial cases, there's a big transaction, there's gotta be a lot of legal things to be within the contract, in case anything goes wrong, you wanna be protected.
Maybe even placing like crypto value on those contracts. So
Crypto
if
value,
you break
yeah.
this contract that you owe.
There's a fine, there's a.
Yeah.
I also think something with that though too, is that it's gonna be tough with these smart contracts to see how we can really link the contract to the product. Because what's stopping me from $100 here, you give me a shoe, you sign off saying it's real, and then myself switching it with a fake pair and then claiming that you sold me a fake pair.
These are all the legal problems around it.
But then what's gonna be linking like the contract to the shoe, right? Because what if I just do the switcheroo and then go, oh, hey, Adam just sold me a fake pair of shoes?
Yeah, I do see what
So
you're
that's the
saying.
thing, when you receive it, you gotta sign it off.
Yeah, you have to be like a proof of,
Oh, right, so then,
There's a proof of work.
so then you say, as soon as I get the product.
You gotta
then I
sign it and
say,
then you
yeah,
get the
it's
money.
real.
then it gets.
Oh, okay.
That would solve.
But still, like, there's a lot of legal questions,
A lot of nuances
Yeah.
like that that I'm sure will probably be solved as time goes on.
but it's gonna be solved, you
Yeah.
know? It's such a new technology, people still don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna be solved.
We're just hitting like about an hour mark now. How we're feeling? Want to take a little break or an intermission, kind of see things out or continue on? Yeah, why don't we take like 10-minute break or something and we'll get on to the rest of it. Christina, does the break work for you as well?
What's the plan? So, step one, we have to find a mentor or someone that can like walk us through in real time. Because any information that we search up online and like do all the research we can, but it's probably not in the States and it's probably like.
You gotta have an independent industry, you know, you have somebody that's done it before,
Yeah, exactly.
and that is willing to help us.
Yeah, 100%. So like, I think we need to be looking out for, big time real estate investors that are open to like mentoring some people and that can like walk us through. Because what I really want, like in the next bit, like soon, is I really want to like.
I wanna get started, you know, that's the thing.
I wanna get started.
I've done a lot of
I want,
research.
yeah, I wanna get started, I wanna get started, but I want for someone to take me through the process from day one to completion. And I wanna see all the paperwork, I wanna see who they have to talk to.
The legal,
I wanna see that exactly back and forth. And so I think that all comes from us having a mentor or us having, just like a professional to be able to walk us through.
Because you know, the thing is, there's
And so-
a
so
lot,
where do
there's
we
a lot
find
of
someone?
money out there.
Oh, yeah.
You might not have the money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people, with a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If we build the trust, right, we form a united front, we want to learn from the best. We can raise money like that. The money's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's just that we need to have, get into the industry, get there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanna
That's
get
the
that.
only thing.
So how do we?
You already, dude, you haven't in the most, problems, right? You're
Yeah.
already in the industry, but you still need to get more, you know?
I need to get way more because also like, I mean, both doesn't really offer that much in terms of what we're trying to do. And so what we're trying to do is like.
We private equity real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys who do big transactions or have done it in the past.
Yeah.
And are willing to help a couple of young people get started, you know, people love
Like
it.
I'm thinking maybe like me and you can like reach out to people on LinkedIn and be like, hey, want to
That's
go
what I was
coffee
thinking.
for a bit?
That's what I was thinking,
Like,
like,
so basically, we really need to find someone that is.
they're gonna love seeing people like us
Yeah.
who are interested in this thing and dude, like, they wanna pass them.
Totally. But I mean, like, dude, like, I should someone that's gonna baby me through, okay, you need this contract, you need letter of intent, start with this. Also the whole vetting process, there's thousands upon thousands
And
of
there's
different
some
investment
tricks.
opportunities, but then which ones do we go with, right? And then since they're an expert, they can be like, okay, dude, I can tell you right now, this is shit, oh, this is good.
These
I'm
are the
like, why?
tricks, dude, these are the, so, there, my dad always tells me, there's a lot of things in business that you don't learn in the classroom. You gotta learn in the business, you know what I mean?
By doing.
Maybe you read a textbook, says this property is good. You talk to people or someone who's done it before, says this is garbage.
Yeah, exactly. And then we would never have known that.
But if we do that, then we form like a real estate trust.
Yeah.
Right? Get a couple of limited partners,
So how
become
do we-
general partners.
Yeah,
Get,
exactly.
you know, get busy.
100%. So I think step one, we gotta find someone that can like show us the paperwork and like show us how. to do it. So number one, how do we find people like that?
I say we go cold call. people,
Yeah,
not cold call.
I agree, of course.
Make a script on LinkedIn, search up every real estate guy who we think is good like that.
Are you in real estate investing groups on LinkedIn? I've joined like 10 of them.
I'm in a lot of private equity.
Groups. Also, I'm happy with it. So just really- I'll switch you up.
What's your name?
Just Jason Carr. CAR.
Posting photo, bro.
Shit.
Right, have you already know?
So check this out. So we guys have found all these clubs. So I'm in multi-family inside real estate coaching, networking, investing, state life, first investment, property, real people best finance. So I recommend, yeah, nice, yeah, I recommend getting these. I get people like reaching out to me, I think it's.
Dude, that's the thing, I get a lot of people.
I get a lot of like
too.
marketing people.
Yeah, oh, you wanna learn how, I'm like, bro, come on, shut the fuck up, like, that's not what I'm here for, you know what I mean?
Exactly, so like that's another sort
And
of
dude, that's,
bullshit, but-
I wanna, like, think if we wanna contact, we wanna don't see them as like a scam.
Yeah, 100%.
Cause as soon as people see it, they're like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Or,
I feel like also once they start to talk to us, figure out why we want to get
if
into
they
this,
see
it is
the
gonna be
interest,
fun.
if they see the interest that we have.
Yeah.
And it's not fake interest, but genuine interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people wanna fake it.
I know.
And people who actually notice because as soon as they see, they know what.
Yeah, it's like, diamond in the rough.
Diamond in the rough, exactly, right? It's a tough one. Sometimes you get it mistaken, you know, like you think this is a good project, it ends up not being a good project. You gotta learn when to cut losses, obviously. Let's say I do research, I think this is a good project, I buy some. And then a couple months later, I realize, not as good as I thought. I gotta be able to emotionally able to cut the loss. It's not gonna change over time. When the project is wrong, it's wrong. It's not gonna change. There is a chance that they can somehow improve it or change the business model, but you don't wanna take that risk because you're basically betting on whether they realize it. You want the short thing.
Very specific scenario question. If you get caught in like a FOMO kind of pump and it goes down to like 30% and you're thinking, all right, maybe I got the next year, do you think it's worth holding on to that like pump and dump
Depends.
and waiting for the next pump and waiting for the next
Depends.
load of idiots?
Depends,
and then
yeah.
Unload the bait?
I believe so, yeah. I feel like depending on where we're in the cycle, let's say,
Like say Doge for example.
let's say Doge, yeah, exactly.
Somewhat high on the
Spectrum.
spectrum, and I'm down, say, 20% now. Like, I still think there's gonna be another boat of idiots that are gonna buy Doge in a couple months.
I think so
And
too.
I'll realize my losses, or unrealized my losses, so I don't wanna realize them yet.
But the thing is, okay, how much of your portfolio is in those?
Honestly, more than it should be, but.
So that's the thing, you gotta trim it, that's the thing. Let's say
That's
for
honestly.
each, like,
More than it
risky
should be.
project, right, this risky project, I put 4% of my portfolio, 3%.
Mine's like 30% or something. But it's all
So,
like
yeah, you
$500, so it's like.
I mean, dude, it's up to you, right? If we're in a good cycle, just like we are right now in Q4, I believe there's gonna be a next like, wave of money coming into crypto. So you might as well you hold on to it till now. You might as well do it for a little more. There is not a guarantee that you're gonna get all your money back, right? But you can salvage some. And
And I think it's less likely that it's gonna get further than it is now in this bull run than it will.
in the bull run, yeah, in the bear market.
Than it did before, no.
Yeah, you gotta get out. You gotta get out.
Do you think people are selling Doge to buy Shiba Inu? This is the next best dog, so they're going.
Man, when the Dogecoin came out, there was like so many meme coins, like, I don't know, So Safe Moon, a lot of them.
There's one
People
called,
dumped money on
Yeah, seriously.
it. Yeah, people dumped serious money, like, we're talking about like $1 million, people dumped a couple billions of dollars. And it all went to shit. That's it. Yeah,
Quick couple beats.
yeah, a couple B's, man, like, that's it, gone.
We talked about it last time, but that's really the marketing side of
That's the marketing.
of
That's what
crypto.
I'm saying,
Like,
it all goes back to the PR, if
Yeah.
you know how to market it, let's say you have the best product that's out there. You don't know how to market it, you're not gonna be able to sell it and make money. Let's say you have a garbage product, you know how to market it, you're gonna make money.
how do you look for proof of concept, since as we're talking about, marketing is so like popular in this industry, and there's so many like altcoins that are really good at marketing, so they can attract a huge investor base, but how do you as a crypto investor actually look for proof
I
of
look at
concept?
three things. So number one is the white paper. I read it carefully, right? I wanna know what they're talking. If I sense something is bullshit, I know, because I've read like many white papers before. So if I sense something that, oh, this is too good to be true, that's it. Second, look at the team. What has the team accomplished in the past? What are their experiences? What are their educational background? I actually do look at it. Some people are like, the education doesn't matter. I think it matters. So if you have I don't know, a master's from MIT, that's a pretty good thing to me, you know, versus
Graduating.
doing a course from Coursera, you know what I mean? It's just, you gotta know these things.
For sure.
There are people, there's a vague people right now, they're like, college doesn't matter. I highly disagree with that. I believe it actually does matter. The things that you learn, the experiences, the interaction that you make definitely changes.
And those who went to university have university connections. And those
Yeah,
who did a
absolutely,
connection
like-
course online don't have access.
You
to
can be
that, like, or
successful
much.
without one. I'm not saying you can be, you absolutely, but the chances are much against you versus in favor.
Also, I do want to make a good point too with the university networks versus the college networks. I think some people are in university are so closed off and so focused on grades that they aren't as open to actually making these kind of connections. Whereas in college, I think it's a lot more network based.
Yes.
And I think that for the purpose of college, aside from grades, is to really like build networks and kind of like figure out like business ventures, like even what we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
And so I think college is a lot more open in terms of.
That's why Langara is actually a great college in my opinion, because it allows you to, like, let's say, if you go straight from high school to UBC, you are under an enormous pressure, right? Grades.
Right.
So
you
the
have no time
transition,
for
you
that.
have no time for anything else,
Yeah.
you lose track of it. You just in it for 4 or 5 years to complete a degree, then you're out, you're like, oh shit, I don't know anything. I don't know how to, I might be good at calculus, but I don't know anything else.
I don't know how to talk to the guy.
I don't know how to talk, I don't know how to
Yeah,
talk,
100%.
right? I don't know how to talk. I'm a
The
good
time-
engineer, but
The
I
time
don't
we're
know.
spending now is so valuable compared to like just people that are just like grinding out, okay, done.
Because dude, we're not in a rush, right? Let's say you graduate at 24 versus 23, what's the difference, right? But the experience and the time you spend here and gaining all this information, in the long run, is gonna be much more valuable, right?
100%.
It prepares you to interact with people. That's what matters in business, right? You can be the smartest guy in university, but if you don't know how to network, communicate, talk, you're never gonna get anywhere. You're gonna be good, you're gonna be a good employee for sure, you can be a good accountant, but you can never be the CEO, you can never be the CFO, you can never be the C-level guy.
You can be the smartest guy in the room, but if you can't get your idea across.
That's it.
then-
You're always an idea, you're never a business, you're always an idea.
Also, I think initiative is key too, and I think that it's really cool because everyone so far in this club, like we've all shown initiative into like bringing this to fruition and kind of getting together and doing this. It takes initiative to come here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important attribute that we're continuously trying to grow too.
And it obviously shows more like-minded people to yourself, right? Let's say you think you have a pretty good, for example, I spoke to Jason, I've always been interested in real estate, right? I've been reading books, watching videos, courses, everything. But I always thought that I'm like, nobody else actually is interested in it, you know what I mean? Until like I spoke with Jason, I'm like, oh shit, he likes it too,
Yeah.
right? This is the effect of networking, being able to communicate. You can be the smartest guy. I know some people who are like 10 times smarter than me, but they don't know how to talk, right? And that put them at a disadvantage, right? Because people are always gonna be interested in people who can communicate. You can sound a lot smarter, you know what I mean? You might not be as smart, but if you know how to talk, you can look pretty smart.
You
That goes back to the crypto thing is too, a lot of people are not smart. A lot of CEOs of these projects are not technical guys. They know how to sell, they know how to sell. They might come to the presentation not knowing jack about the project, right? But they know how to sell.
Engaging the audience.
And, you know, building the energy in the room,
Yeah.
that just gives you the advantage, right? Versus a guy who's like super technical and distracts people, you know, people are like, fuck this guy, man, I don't understand it. That's a problem with computer science industry, because it's so technical, and a lot of people are so smart, they can't communicate. The way they talk, it just, people lose interest really fast.
I think Kevin Smith spoke that really well all over the place.
And I want to talk about where to buy it.
Yes.
Alright, and where can we trade crypto, right? There's a couple platforms in Canada, Binance works in Canada. Yeah, I personally use Newton, which Liam introduced me to, it's a pretty simple platform. Doesn't have all the cryptos on it, but has the most important, 20, 25 cryptos. And it's pretty easy to use. So basically, you send a request for e-transfer, we accept it in your bank account, and money is transferred to you.
So what's the name of this?
Smart contracts are.
NEWTON.
Careful with the search history.
It's a risky game.
Don't type in P, whatever.
I think this is the best one in Canada. This is the easiest one to use, super user friendly, super fast.
Kind of like Discord.
It's like this, it looks like this, but then
The
the
interface.
UI interface is like this one. I use Binance for, if I want to do more advanced projects, I do Binance. They have much more projects on there, but they're a little, shaky about the payments. So the way to withdraw from Binance is very complicated. You can't really withdraw money. You gotta wire transfer the money to a US bank account. So you gotta put it in the USD and have a US account in whatever bank you use account.
For Binance.
You can't see the thing is, the trick is, you can't put your debit card and let's say transfer $2,000 to your Binance account with Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And it automatically transfers to USD, which it kills you with the FX.
Real bad.
And then, let's say, a couple months later, you bought a coin, you wanna sell it, you wanna put the money back into the bank. They're like, we can do Canadian dollars, we can do USD, right? So you gotta choose USD, have a US bank account in Canada, then wire transfer, that's $45 from there. And then as soon as it hits your bank account, another 25.
Oh, yikes.
That's the fucked up part about financial services.
So then
And
what's,
it takes a long time.
so then the next question is, what's the benefit of using Binance then? If we have to transfer all this USD around and it's.
That's the thing,
a whole nother layer of
you can buy
complication.
Bitcoin on Binance,
Yeah.
transfer it to Nuda and then do that.
So instead of just, okay, so then instead of, withdrawing in actual cash. you
Use another
transfer-
platform.
Right, so just use another, use another cryptocurrency, and then you can transfer the crypto to your crypto trader.
Exactly.
Ah.
That's what I personally do is, whatever I wanna buy, I buy with Binance, transfer to my wallet, that's it.
So Newton then,
Nuda, yeah,
you can use Canadian dollars,
you can use Canadian dollars.
Can you transfer to
Each transfer up to 70 grand per week.
and then,
transfer in crypto from
You can
another
transfer in
account?
crypto, you can transfer in Canadian dollars, whatever you want.
and then so you can.
But it doesn't do
withdraw-
USD.
And then so with Newton, you can withdraw just fine.
You can withdraw straight to your, each transfer to your money.
Okay, so that's.
up to
kind of like a
70.
no-brainer to use Newton.
If you wanna do big money, you can't use Nuda, that's the thing. But since we're not, I'm not. pretty sure-
I don't think, we're not there yet, and then you said the max was 7,500.
No, 70 grand.
Oh, okay, well, 70 grand is pretty big money for us at least. Yeah.
Per week, so you can do $280,000.
Okay, well, there we go. Yeah.
But you never know, you might have some big, you might have some crypto,
Yeah,
which goes up in value, and suddenly overnight, you're a millionaire.
yeah, there you
There
go.
are a couple guys that I was reading a story about, this guy from Ukraine. Bought 60 Bitcoins at, when it was $2,000, 100 grand, he put it all of his life saving into it. And then in a couple of months, he has $3 million. He becomes a millionaire overnight, puts it into real estate, and the guy's what's it called? He retired, that's it, done.
Yeah.
In a matter of a year, but that was a pretty big bet, right? Good timing, big bet.
And a lot of times too, especially with this stuff, like if you're planning on doing that kind of stuff, like your balls have to be touching the toilet.
Yeah, you gotta have, you gotta be.
You gotta be.
You gotta think about how many people drown in that water too. Like there's probably other than 30 other Jimmys that did that too, but they invested.
Didn't work out.
Dogecoin or ABC, you know?
And now
Yeah.
instead of retiring, they're paying. Yeah,
Straight up.
exactly, they're on the corner, right? So.
It's like always when you hear a success story, you gotta know this is
It's
one out of
failure on the other
100,
side.
99 of them didn't go right.
Yeah.
And you will never hear about it, right? Because usually we see people who are actually successful, we don't see people who aren't successful.
That's
And the people that aren't successful aren't exactly advertised with that, it's possible.
Exactly, they don't. A lot of people last year.
But maybe they should be.
They should.
They should be,
So
yeah.
people wouldn't be so quick to dump all the money into special investments.
That's why it goes back to network too. You gotta have a network to be confident enough to be like, yo, boys, I just lost like 40K in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, maybe I should throw my life savings away. You know, like that is so important.
A lot of people put everything they had in crypto. I know a couple of people from my network that I had a friend who got, when the COVID hit, he got laid off, right? And the company paid him like 10 grand for severance and stuff. And he had another 10 grand extra. So he had 20 grand in total. He's like, fuck it, it's all or nothing. I'll put it in Dogecoin. And he put it when Elon Musk was actually going on that, what was that show? SNL, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, well, this is gonna go to the moon, I'm gonna cash out on 50 G's. And as soon as Elon Musk went on and everything went to shit, his 20 grand was down to 9,000. And then he's like, no, it's gonna bounce back up. And it didn't, and it's down to 4 grand. So yeah, these are the risks about it.
Yeah.
You gotta know your risk. You know, like if I'm gonna risk 20,000 to make 100,000, I have a risk ratio of 1 to 5. But if 20 goes to 0 and I don't have anything else,
Yeah.
that's a fucked up bet. You know, that doesn't work out.
And that's why you never, bet with the money you have.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I talk about risk, it's like put more eggs in a couple baskets and put more in the ones you most comfortable. Not all of them.
Distribute the eggs around.
Distribute the eggs.
You might call me crazy, but I do have full intention to have a YOLO where I just put it way too much money on one call. I'm gonna wait until the right call comes along, the next Dogecoin.
Got like 0.005 or something.
But like,
See, that's the thing, you can put some money into it.
No, but I'm saying
Put
like-
$100 into it, what goes on?
I'm saying like a lot.
Just know
With the
that
life saving
I'm like,
on.
no, I'm all I'm saving, but a good chunk of it. Like, we've kind of been over this a little bit, we're young enough, where we could lose our like.
But that's what I'm telling you, dude. Instead of doing that,
And that's why this is the time to bet.
instead of doing, for example, myself, I put a huge chunk of my money into Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? And I'm pretty confident about it, right? And if for any reasons I'm wrong, I can take that, because I'm like, I've done my research.
Yeah.
I know these are the risks, and for some reason it doesn't work out, all right, so be it, you know what I mean, I was wrong. But like Shiba, like those are too risky, man. For me, it's just too much.
So just going back to this, when you were saying earlier, when we talked about this question, when to buy, right? We took a 3-step process. You said it was look at the white paper, which is basically like the blueprint, the structure, what's it built on. You said to look at the team, so who's the CEO, who's running the show,
Exactly. And what's the team backing?
yeah,
Money backing.
yeah, exactly, who's investing in it, like that's a huge thing to look at, so that's kind of when to buy, is once you've done that 3-step check mark, like, okay, all those things check out, meme or not, what is, how do those 3 things like work? I'm curious to ask you, Amir, when do you hold and when do you sell?
So the thing is, after the research part is done, we're sure this is a good project, we're confident, we want to get it, right? When do we actually buy? We're looking for, Marcus said, where are we? Are we in red days? Is it going like up 20% per day? What's the situation? If it's going up 20% per day like right now, I'm not gonna buy, because I'm sure this is not sustainable. It's gonna dip at some point. It's always like, it's never on the rise and it's never on the fall. You gotta know that, that's the first concept. So you wait for days that you see some red opportunity, right? It's red, it's like down 20%, 15%, but the underlying project hasn't changed, right? It's just the uncertainty in the market, there's fear in the market. Those are the days you wanna buy. And when those days come, you buy in portions and you add, and then depending on the project, let's say this is an early stage project, one people in 2 years, you forget about it. Forget it ever existed. Think about you lost the money. If you go with the mindset that I just lost the money, you'll be much more comfortable with whatever comes. If it goes higher, fucking great. If it goes lower, you don't worry about it because you're like, that's gone. I'm not gonna touch that money for the next 2 years. And put the money away that you're not gonna need for the next 2 years. If you have rent, if you have car payments, if you have insurance, and then you put that money on it, you're always gonna be stressing about it, right? One day it goes up, one day it goes down,
And separate that money that you potentially would invest in the things separate from your checkings account, like.
Have multiple bank accounts.
Yes.
That's my suggestion.
Like I even had this conversation with my bank yesterday, and she was like, have an idea where you have a savings account or you have a checkings account, and then have like a category for each one. So for example, if I wanted to invest in cryptocurrency, have a separate bank account that has this amount of money separate from your savings. Absolutely. Because if you're just dipping into your savings, you'd be like, oh shit, like like Ethereum's doing well today, let me just take out those savings that I also pay for rent, that same checking account, and put it into there. It's so disorganized. So like, know where you're putting your money from and direct it.
That's why I say that personal finance is really important. You gotta divide your money. Have a checking account, have a saving account, have an investment account, have a vacation account if you're planning on a vacation, right? Put money aside for vacation so it doesn't touch the other monies that you have. If you're into a business, have a business account for yourself. It doesn't have to be a business bank account, you can just name it your business account, right? For example, I have a company, I have some expenses that I get, like, for example, my paycheck, or I have some expenses that I need to put money back into the business. I have a separate account that is different from my, for example, the money that I want to invest in crypto. It's all organized, it doesn't confuse you.
And it helps keep you on track, you know?
You can have an education account, money you want to put for school or anything school related.
Travel's a big one.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
You want to be saving monthly for your travel. So you get and for holdings, one more thing I want to add is that there was a saying Warren Buffett says that let's say you buy a house, right? You don't go check the price of the house every day to see if it's down or up, right? You gotta have the same mindset. If you buy something, you're like, I want to hold it for the next 5 years, you don't go check the price. If you check the price, we're human, right? If it's a down market, you're like, oh shit, maybe I was wrong, you know? You start doubting yourself, and that never has a good outcome. I was like, oh shit, like, I thought this was gonna go up, now maybe I was wrong, maybe I shouldn't put that money in, maybe I should, I don't know, put it in a saving account. You should start doubting yourself. And over a long time, it's just you're gonna get to a point that you're like, fucking, I'm gonna take money out. And you go out with a loss. Always you're gonna go out with a loss.
Because you lowered your leverage every single time, you just like hurt yourself more, you're like, oh.
You're human, right? Maybe the first you're like, no, I got confidence, like it's okay. Next time you're like a little lower, the next time you're a little lower. And it gets to a point you're like, fucking all.
So first identify what you're investing in. If you're investing in something that's long-term, don't check it. If you're investing in something that you could lose massive gains on, maybe checking it once a month or once a quarter is a good idea.
Absolutely,
Like,
once a quarter, that's what I'm saying. If you have whatever portfolio, stocks, bonds, precious metal, crypto, whatever. You wanna have a quarterly review for yourself personally, instead of looking at the news every day. Oh, like Warren Buffett says that China's doing this, you know, US Treasury bill follows that point. All these, there are always these news out there. They're never gonna stop. They've always been there. It doesn't change the underlying markets. So every 3 months, you sit down, you check it, you see the same principles still apply to your investments, right? Back in like 3 months ago, I thought this project was good. Now I think it's garbage. Why is that? Bring some reasoning for yourself, and then do a review. Oh, this has done pretty well. Like I'm up 400% on it. Maybe I should take some profit. There's got to be a point that you want to take profit because we're in this game to make money. You just can't let it go forever. You have a goal, you have a target. Let's say I want to gain 600% on this project. And once I hit my 600%, I want to take my principal out, right? If I put 5 grand originally, I want to take my 5 grand. So I'm risk free at that. Whatever goes higher than, I'm risk free.
True. Yeah, knowing when to pull your initial investment out.
Absolutely.
To get your safety net back, and then just know that you're just riding this awesome train of gaining money.
Absolutely. That's the best strategy. Cool. That's why, for example, real estate investing is such a good investment because you don't get to check prices or any uncertainty every day because it doesn't work that way. If you buy a property, you gotta be holding on to it at least for a couple of years. You can't sell it next month. You're obviously gonna lose money. The lawyers cost us that alone, you're gonna lose money. You gotta think, because right now, because of the whole technology improvement and stuff, you can trade so often. You just pull out your phone, trade done.
Yeah.
And it's like a weapon now.
It is.
You can fuck up your whole money in that.
In your mind too. Wake up every morning and check your stock list, or just infinitely stressed, like you were saying earlier. Like if you're a day trader.
Oh man, the pressure that I had last year. Every morning you wake up at, because we're in like Western.
You gotta wait till like 5.
Yeah, you have to. I woke up
Market
at
opens
5.
at
I
6.
check the news, and when the days are like down, and you start your day feeling really bad. You're like, fuck, I'm down like $2,000 today, right? That's gonna be a bad day, that's gonna be a bad day.
Even with not much money in my account, whenever I wake up and check the stock market.
It's like $5 down.
No! You didn't
$5.
But that's the stress, you know, every day you wake up in the middle, if you're day trading constantly, you wake up in the middle of the night, check for some news, see what's going on.
I guess you
It's
gotta
a garbage lifestyle, man, it's a garbage. Only do it if you're getting paid by someone to do it, you know what I mean? That's the only way I would ever do day trading, is that I'm a fund manager, and I know I'm gonna get my share of money, and I have a guaranteed income or a percentage of it. That's the only, I'm never gonna do it my own. That's why a lot of these marketers are like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to do $10,000. The business is teaching you. The
Yeah.
business is not doing the job. The business is teaching you.
The course is the
He
job.
doesn't do it. He just gets the money from selling the courses. That's the whole scam of the how to sell on Amazon, how to do drop shipping, how to do Shopify. What's the business? I sell it to you. That's the business.
Perception of what you're selling is probably the biggest way you can make high margins.
Absolutely.
Is like deceiving the person that you're selling that there's something else to gain
We got the master in marketing right here. Who knows everything about it?
from it. It's crazy. It's
It's a great world. I believe marketing is the most important aspect of any business. And finance and accounting they're cool, but without marketing and great minds behind it, no project gonna go anywhere.
There's pros and cons. They're like,
Pros and cons.
we're learning last time too, although it's sometimes the most unique things, it's also sometimes the most replaceable. Like, when you talk about a company, you think who goes first before the salesman or the accountant, you know, you're gonna keep your accountant, you're gonna drop your sales. So it's a risky game, but there's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, cool. Well, we won't keep it going too long here, but let's talk about the final thing. It's current events to wrap up. We got some cool shit going on.
Yes,
Weird shit.
and stuff. It's been a very good week last week. Bitcoin, I think last time we checked was on $54,000, which from the first session we had was about 40. So we've seen like a almost 20% increase in the last 2 or 3 weeks that we had a session.
Just.
No asset classes.
Try not to smile right now, but it's whether.
Just for fun, why don't we like make some estimates where we think crypto is gonna go?
I was actually gonna suggest that let's make an assumption, everybody, on where you guys see the Bitcoin price 6 months from
Or
now.
maybe year end, I think that would be.
Yeah, let's do year.
Cool. I like that.
And then how about we also do like short term from next?
Next, we can do next week too. Okay, let's start with Adam.
All right, let me just.
What would you say for the next year?
Yeah, we should keep a record at the
Yeah,
end
we
of the
can do
year.
a record.
Well, I was gonna say, at the start of every session we have, we can bring up the market price.
Absolutely. Okay,
Okay,
we got,
wow. So right now.
let's put it here. What are you guys thinking? Generate some ideas.
By year end or short term?
Yeah.
Are we saying US or Canadian dollars?
No, so it's in the US dollars.
US dollars.
That's it right now, year end October. I say another 25%.
That'd be 65 grand.
Yes,
Saturday. So you're saying it's gonna break all-time high by the end of this year?
that's what I'm saying.
Okay. What about you?
I'm even more bullish just because of some technical analysis that I looked at with the stock flow model that suggests that it could touch into the 100,000 range, which would be there in this current price level. But I have seen a lot of people who know crypto put a lot of confidence in that model, so I think I'm gonna put my $0 bet on 98,000 US.
What about you?
You think 60? Okay, that's conservative.
Yeah. That's considered, what do you think?
I think actually, this will be the exact price range, right? Like right now, I think it's gonna be around 55,000.
Okay.
Make it up, but like back.
I personally think by the end of this year, we're gonna touch $100,000. That's my personal prediction. I was listening to a podcast the other day, the guy was talking about, is this a fund manager back in UK? And he was like, my personal prediction is that Ethereum by the halfway 2022 is gonna hit $40,000. And Bitcoin is gonna hit $400,000, which is extremely bullish. But if you look at the past patterns, it's doable.
But that would imply that Bitcoin or the whole market caps would be like in the $10 trillion mark.
But dude, 10 trillion as an industry is not that much. If you look at the financial industry, it's like a $250 trillion industry.
That's very true.
And Bitcoin is sitting at the whole crypto is sitting at 2 trillion right now. So
Very
it's not, you know what I mean? If you look at the global scale, it's not as much.
Because yeah, I guess the reason why I've been kind of getting nervous about the whole industry's market cap is just because I've been hearing people equate it to the US dollar, which has like 2 trillion in circulation. So when you look at that, like comparison, it's pretty scary. But then when you compare it to the actual financial industry, that just shows like that is
That is what it's
kind of
trying
what
to
they're
disrupt,
replacing,
right? Yeah.
trying to replace that industry. So the whole currency side, comparing currency to the US dollar, that isn't the whole picture. So I guess,
Exactly, yeah, that's for
yeah,
sure.
that financial industry comparison makes a lot of sense.
What about you, Kai?
This is a really interesting model that I was never really introduced before, like last week's session, they're kind of learning about. But from what I see is, this is one of the few times, or one of the only times where the market has been lower than what the predicted price. Like we can see that a lot of money was, or like a lot of change happened here, where the price produced less than what the estimated value is, which is the same as what it's doing right now. But then we see a lot of times where it's overachieved very high amounts. You know, so the people who bought here and went back up, they went against the stock flow market and they made a shit ton of money. So if we were to do that same thing now and invest now, this margin is what's being made.
It's a good time to buy it,
According to this,
according to this. See, you can have your own personal analysis, which one of these you're gonna follow, and then act based on that. I, for example, look at this and I look at a couple of other analysis, basically the historical pattern, that's enough reason for me to buy. Maybe someone else wants to look at some other factors. You gotta know your own factors and what matters to you. What do you think? Give us a number.
I would, my level of investing, take a median between the stock, or the mean between the stock flow price and the price right now. So I would say anywhere from 75 to 80 would be the end price.
say 77.
We got some good numbers. 54, 60, 98, 70, 75, and that's it.
See,
We'll see.
we'll
We shall
have
see.
go.
We shall see. If we hit the 100-gram mark, it's gonna be a good day.
All of us.
You
Yeah.
take this out for dinner?
Yeah, it's not-
If Ethereum,
Are we going out for drinks
Dude,
today?
I'm gonna make that bet. If Ethereum, it's 40 grand. It's a night out.
There we go.
We gotta hit the club.
I know.
We're gonna hit the club to the table.
No, we're not gonna go buy it.
Yeah. Yo, we go to the club manager, you're like, what's the whole thing? How much? The whole thing.
Fuck the coffee day.
Do more
than you, we go right more.
The guy brought my checkbook, how much for the whole thing?
Yeah, let's go. What we talking here? Or you check right now?
But I'm only buying it here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you guys wanna make a prediction until next week? 'Cause
Next
it is
week, I'm
pretty
thinking-
interesting price movements right now, so it could go anywhere. It could-
I'm thinking 57 to 58,000 by the end of next week.
I think that's
So,
reasonable.
yeah, I think we're gonna see another spike. We're gonna see some slow downturn, beginning
now's
next
a good
week
time to
because there's
buy?
a, what?
Do you think now's a good time to buy or wait for?
I wouldn't buy now.
Yeah, this is.
I bought the ones that I wanted to. I bought around 37, 38,000. And yeah, I've been holding.
Cause like the question is, where we are right now, at that top right part is eerily similar to that bottom left part. So is there gonna be another 15% gain next week, or is it gonna reverse and it's
That's
gonna
a
be
good
like a?
question. What's the plan? Are you trying to trade it or you wanna hold it? That's the question. If you want to trade it, it's a good time to buy.
Mhm.
Buy it right now, sell it 2 weeks from now, once it is your 50%. But if you want to buy it long term, you want to get at the better price. You know? There's always going to be dips, there's gonna be the next fog, when China's gonna ban it again, you know, there's always gonna happen.
Okay, so then also, I mean, we've been predicting this entire time that at the year end, it's gonna be up by, 100K, 70, something like that. That's still an extra 20 grand from here, so wouldn't it still be a good idea to invest now?
Absolutely. Depending on the trade, if you wanna trade it, yeah.
Okay,
And
so-
there's no single asset class that can return this much.
Okay, so then, okay, right, so then let's say I wanna hold, because that's what I wanna do. If it's still gonna be at 100 grand, that's almost double what it is right now. Well,
That's a 2x.
like, yeah, exactly, that's 2x, so would it still not be a good idea to like buy and hold to the end at least?
I would be,
But
see, the thing
that-
is,
That's all that some of us are basically predicting off
Yeah.
of suggests that once it hits like the 100K region, it's gonna like half, it's gonna have a cycle, so that like flat line,
Oh.
chart is like a consolidation here, period where it just like.
Okay, so it's all
trades
in
flat
December.
or down, so like if you wanna trade, that's kind of what you're saying, like, long-term trading, this could be a like risky entry, but if you wanted to trade to sell. in a
Yeah,
couple
or buy
months,
money in and just sell it in like December 20.
I second that notion.
I think that's a good plan too, yeah.
It could be my procrastinating nature, but I almost wanna wait until the end until Q1 starts and then see the price drop. It's still going, if more countries than El Salvador nationalize it, kind of have some more proof of concept, that's when you get.
But the thing is about crypto and Bitcoin, like stocks have a predictable past. Bitcoin, because it's so new, every cycle is different, you know what I mean? Maybe like in 2018, there was a massive price drop from 25,000 to fucking $2,000.
Well, look at 2016 right now.
Yeah, in 2016,
You see
there was in
those numbers?
2013 was a massive drop, there was a massive drop in 2020. But each one of these drops are different. The way it bounces back up is different. You know, back from my personal philosophy that you hold it unless there's a massive change. Let's say if it goes to, for some reason, it goes to 500 grand, yeah, I think I might sell that.
You have a limit. Yeah.
I have a limit, you know what I mean? You gotta know your
It's
limit.
important. It's important too.
100%, I mean, also just by looking at this here too, I think it will, I think, I feel like you can say this entire time as well, but like, it's gonna hit a peak by year end. So
It's gonna hit a peak by year.
It's cycling, like, easy to
Exactly,
do, like,
because you can
predictions.
see all these peaks, I mean, like, every single year end, besides of course our down years, have been peaking and then going.
But if
down.
you wanna trade it, if any of you guys wanna trade it, I highly suggest looking